time for some guitar. Let me do a whole bunch of adjusting to this video. There, that makes you kind of feel woozy probably. And then let me figure out how to sit in such a way as it doesn't appear that I'm hanging out in my bedroom. Goodness sakes, kind of weird. All right, so there's that. I think looks like we're streaming. So let me go post this on our website. Website's denverguitarorchestra.com. You wouldn't be here if you didn't know that. And let me go post it here. Command V. Whoops, delete. Command V. Shift, highlight, link, enter, edit, settings, open a new window, update, bold and blue. Okay. So there's that. Tonight we're playing 3 levels from this program and the classical song. So tonight it looks like, what is tonight? Tonight's going to be 3 Blind Mice. We're going to talk about the Strumming Book a little bit, and then we're going to talk about Carnival of Venice, Clementine, really fun one to play, America the Beautiful, and Andante in G, which is kind of a complicated one. Our classical song for the night is Waltz in E minor by Bartolomé, and I have no idea how to say his last name, so it's a great song. Let's close that there. We'll wait just a second for everybody to pile in. Denver Guitar Orchestra.com. Patience. Hit this button here. Go to there. Get that. Patience and tweet. Alright, so we are on Twitter. I'm not even sure why I still do Twitter. It's really meant for newspaper people, I think, is what it's for. And celebrities. Even celebrities just do Instagram now. I don't know if any of them are still doing Twitter. Let's see. All right, looks like that's all taken care of. So, book 1, 3 Blind Mice. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Vic just logged in. Sounded good. Zoom session was very helpful yesterday. Oh, good. I'm glad. We've talked about moving this class over to Zoom, but I don't necessarily think this class is the same way. This is sort of a hide out in your house and and try to get better kind of thing. With the other group, it's definitely much more of a everybody in it together kind of thing. So, hey Linda, welcome in. Vic, I'm glad you thought it was helpful. I think that I may do orchestra rehearsals on Zoom always now. It seemed like, to me, that felt really a lot more like what I want it to feel like. YouTube is fine because it minimizes the amount of distractions and stuff that I have to do. And I think it makes it easier for you to log in and come check out the video later on and all that stuff. So I think I'll start doing one of each. I think I'll do orchestra on Zoom and keep this one over on YouTube. So that's what we're doing there. Let's go ahead and grab the sheet music, guys, and let's get started. We have a Russian spy that just walked into the room. Let me get rid of that. There, she's gone. And then let's see how we're doing. I'm still broadcasting from my bedroom. We just went outside to grab dinner, and it is so stinking cold out there. It's crazy. I'm not going outside ever again. And the house, they finally finished the electrical, which is pretty exciting. So they're going to start drywalling the kitchen tomorrow, painting on Monday, cabinets the following Monday. So we're getting closer. And then you won't have to look at me broadcasting from my own bedroom anymore. Really weird. Let's see. That's my backpack from school. Like, yeah. All right, 3 Blind Mice. Remember last week I said this is one of the hardest things that we have to do. This is one of the hardest things in all of the guitar program. I mean, honestly, this is a really hard piece of music. So let's go through it one last time before we play it. Remember, you have basically 3 G chords that you can play: index, middle, and ring. That's 1 G chord. Okay, lovely. You can take that same thing, but use your middle, ring, and pinky, which you're going to want to do. Okay, same thing, just feels more difficult in your hand here. 2 places. The first line of this song, you really have to use this shape, and the last 2 measures, you have to use this shape. The rest of them, you can use this shape. Okay. Other things to remember with this shape, starting off in the beginning of book 2, I'm going to ask you to put your pinky and ring into the 3rd fret. Okay, so there's the 3rd fret, ring and pinky, middle and index finger up there. So you're having 2 number 3s held down. Gives you a little bit more oomph to the high end of that chord. So you'll be playing that one. And then just for fun, okay, this isn't something that I would expect out of book 1, but you know how we learned the E chord. And let me put the guitar down here where you can see what I'm doing. Here's your E chord, right? Okay, and you guys there, both of you have had some ukulele background. You know if you put a bar on it and take that same shape and move it up in front, now you have an E-shaped chord with a bar on it. Okay, that's an F. Okay. You don't have to learn this until the end of book 2, but it's really hard. People quit because of that chord. And then if you slide that up to 3, it becomes our other G. And you probably sound like this. Right? That's how we sound when we start playing bar chords. And the fun part about that is once you learn that, then you can play flamenco, which is a... Right, and I don't remember exactly what chords they use. I don't remember what chords they use. Anyways, there's your E, F, G, and A bar chords there. Don't do those yet; those are too much work. All right, so the big takeaway here is on 3 Blind Mice. I want you to use that G with your pinky. All right, let's talk about right hand for just a minute. We're in 4, so what I would do, let's do this: thumb, index, middle, ring, thumb on the top string, index on the 4th, index on the 5th string, middle finger on the 4th string, and ring finger on the 3rd string. Okay, and let's just do an arpeggio pattern: thumb, index, middle, ring, thumb, index, middle, ring, thumb, index, middle, ring, thumb, index, middle, ring. 3 blind mice. 3 blind mice. See how they run. See how they run. They all went after the farmer's wife. She cut off their tails with a carving knife. Have you ever seen such a sight in your life as 3 blind mice? Okay, so that's the singing and strumming thing, right? And we talk all the time about there's lots of ways to use your right hand. Arpeggio picking is one of those ways that's going to always work out to your advantage. You can, of course, take your index finger up and down. 3 blind mice. 3 blind mice. And when you see people who use a pick on their guitar, that's how loud their guitar gets, and that's why they have to scream, sing over their guitars. And so that's why we listen to the type of music we listen to sometimes. But thumb down also works real pretty. 3 blind mice. So practice with your right hand. Try different things with it to make sure that you're not getting stuck in just one groove. Next, let's play the melody. This is a first position melody. So index in 1, middle in 2, ring in 3. There are no 4s. Let's give this a try. 1, 2, ready, play. 0, 2, course, if you have a friend who has a guitar, you go over their house. They don't know how to play tablature. They don't know how to play melody, but they do know their chords probably better than we'll ever know, right? And so go over there and have them play their chords. You play the melody, and everybody has this lovely duet, and it's very fun. Hey, Linda, welcome in. Good to see you. All right. So then the hard part of this song, and I was playing it earlier today, and this is really hard. So just know if you're fighting it, you should be fighting it. I'm trying to get my hand into the... if I scoot back into it. All right. So I'm going to start with this part for the tough acts, and that keeps my index finger available to get the 2 that's coming up in the second note available. Okay. So we'll go nice and slow, thumb down on this one until you hit the string, the last string it says, and then your thumb rests on the string below it. Okay, so nice and slow. 1, 2, ready, play. Index finger, no index finger. Pinky, again, index, pinky. Move your pinky to the second string. 2 ones, nothing. Pinky. Move your pinky. Pinky. Regular G shape. G shape. Pinky or ring. Pinky on the top, or ring on the top. Middle, index finger, and pinky. Okay. So it's there. It's very, very challenging to play, and so if it's not going well, that makes sense to me, right? That if you're new and you're working on getting your tough act started, that's a pretty heavy lift there. And honestly, you're going to be doing a ton of tough uke in books 2 and 3, and well, really for the rest of your life. So there's no sense in spending too much time worrying about whether or not you can do 3 blind mice, because we got plenty of other stuff that's a little bit easier, honestly, that you'll be doing to get your hands in good shape. The heater is running right now, and you probably hear that, so I apologize. I moved the microphone closer to my guitar, so hopefully you can hear it better. There's 3 blind mice. We're going to move on in book 1 into the strumming book. So you should have downloaded that from the website. Let me make sure I did that correctly. Book 1, yeah, and the key with this, the hardest part of this entire lesson is, can you print it out on your printer correctly? When you go to print it on your printer, it'll come out perfectly if you remember to go to the double-sided setting. Most printers do double-sided now, but you have to make sure to click on short edge binding and not long edge binding. It naturally defaults to long edge binding, and if you print it that way, every other page will be upside down. And if you put it on short edge binding, it'll print out perfectly, and you'll have a little booklet. And I wanted to talk about this booklet a little bit, because there are this is a tool that you can use to make yourself better, but it's also a tool that you can use with if you decide, if somebody says, hey, I hear you play guitar, why don't you show me some stuff? You can teach them this, and everybody will have a good time. We don't have to teach them tough acts, right? We could just teach them how to sing some songs, especially if it's somebody who they're not very serious about guitar, but they don't mind singing a song. That's what this little booklet does, and I adore this little booklet. I think it came out really nice. It's very useful. And so let's talk about a few things, because next week we're going to play through as many songs as we can get through, really. On page 1, you have Frere Jacques and 3 Blind Mice, and they both use the key, the chord A. And you can see on the page 1 there, you've got the 4 chords you're going to be using. So you already know A. already know D. E7 is exactly like the E we learned, except you don't put your ring finger down. Okay. Now the one that's a little bit of a bummer is F sharp minor. What that is your bar chord here and then your ring and pinky here. Now it only shows up in a couple of songs in the book, so I wouldn't spend a ton of time worrying about it. I'd just skip it for in the beginning. But the cool part about those chords on the front page is if you play them in order, you are magically transported back to 1959, and basically every boy band was using this chord progression. I'll show you, and you can try to play along with me if you will. 4 beats of each. Ready? 1, 2, ready, play. A, 2, 3, 4, F sharp minor, 2, 3, 4 and D, 2, 3, 4, E7, 2, 3, 4, Duke, 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 Duke of Earl, Duke, Duke, Duke of Earl, Duke, Duke, Duke of Earl, Duke, Duke, and then you can just repeat it. Do some arpeggios. Something to work on. It's not, those 4 chords are going to come up in your life, and so it'd be fun. Go as slow as you have to go to keep it steady, right? So it doesn't help to go A 20 minutes later, F sharp minor 20 minutes later, right? Try not to do that. Try to play whatever speed you can play where you can get everything in proper timing, and that might be super slow. Let's talk about when you can't get these things in enough time. So let's say we were going to do A, F sharp minor, D, and E7, and we were going to do 4 beats of each, but there was no way you get an F sharp minor on in time. Okay, so what I tell people all the time is it doesn't matter. The end of the measure is the throwaway. The beginning of the measure is the important part. So if you're going to do 4 beats, you hit A, and then while you're singing 2, 3, 4, you're putting on the F sharp minor. So it's ready. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, da da da. Dum dum. So hit the chord, and then if you know it's a hard chord coming in the next measure, abandon the current chord early so that you can get the hard chord on next. And eventually, none of the chords are particularly hard, but well, I shouldn't say that. There's always hard chords, no matter how long you've been playing. But some are harder than others, and you'll get where these 4 chords are not a big deal, but it does take a little bit of time. And I would say when you're playing, don't fall asleep on the chord you're on. Always be pushing forward into that next chord. So if I'm on A, I don't care about A anymore. I'm looking at what's coming up. Oh, F sharp minor. I'm getting myself ready so that it's ready when it's done. And so always be looking at whatever chord you're on. That you don't care, right? You already got that chord. You're doing fine. What's the next chord? When's that coming in? How soon do I have to abandon the current chord in order to be ready for the next chord? And beat 1 of whatever chord, whatever timing is going on in your song. Beat 1 of that chord is always super important. To be ready for it, right? So if I'm looking at page 1, and I see Frere Jacques, well, there's only 1 chord, so I'm like, sweet, right? And with this one, I would recommend trying it both ways, right? With your just regular strumming, are you sleeping? Are you sleeping? But then also go through, take time to do your claw picking. Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping? And then pick it up with arpeggio plucking. Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping? So do all three of those with this hand, so that you can get good at just regular strumming, which we'll do very little of, honestly. Claw plucking, where you're using everybody at once, we do that continuously in this program. And then arpeggio picking. Normally with arpeggio picking, we use those sort of notes as decoration to a main idea in fingerstyle. So in fingerstyle, if you're busy playing along and you get to a whole note, and you'll see me often put that in as just space filler, basically, so that something's going on your guitar and makes it sound real nice. Page 1 also has 3 blind mice sitting on there. Again, this time it's in A. In your main songbook, it's in G. But you can get a chance to compare your singing voice, whether you like it in G or A better, right? So 3 blind mice, 3 blind mice, see how they run. See how they run. So I'm not going to spend any time on it, but just know that any of the headlines that are in red, those are 1-chord songs. Any headlines that are in green are 2-chord songs. Any headlines that are in blue are 3-chord songs, and any headlines that are in purple are 4-chord songs. So what you're looking at is, I'm seeing why I'm getting texted in the middle of this. Doesn't everybody know that I'm busy online at the moment? The key here is when you're learning your chords and getting from one to the other, you want to start with fewer chords, right? So after you do the red headlines, then do all the green headlines in here. I will point out really quickly on page 2, Lime and a Coconut. See if you can find that in your printout. Page 2 is not the actual Lime and the Coconut. It's inspired by the Lime and the Coconut, but you're going to be using E7 on that. And anytime I'm teaching little kids, man, I pull this one out. They love it, because you get to yell "doctor" in the second verse, and so we make a big deal out of that. But I'm going to play I'm going to sing just a little bit. You know how about my singing, right? It's terrible. From the top, 1, 2, 3. My brother bought a coconut, he bought it for a dime. My sister had another one and spent it on a lime. You put the lime in the coconut, shake it all up. You put the lime in the coconut, drink it all up. You put the lime in the coconut, then you'll perk on up. Called the doctor, woke him up, and here is what I said. I said, "Doctor," and you have the kids screaming as loud as they can. "Ain't there nothing I can take?" I said, "Doctor, to relieve this bellyache." I said, "Doctor, ain't there nothing I can take?" You put the lime in the coconut, drink 'em both together. Put the lime in the coconut, then you feel much better. Put the lime in the coconut and call me in the morning. Okay. Now, in this book, it was really written for ukulele, but with guitar, when you do a tremolo, the problem with tremolo on guitar is these 3 bass strings get out of control and they sort of take over the whole situation. So tremolo is not as fun to do on guitar as it is on ukulele. But I wanted to make sure that song, those of you guys that were around in the 60s, it was an early 70s song. You'll remember that song. And of course, he does it differently a lot, and the words are quite a bit different as well. But anyway, that's it. Let's go on to page 3. Is it page 3? I don't want to go to page 3. Let's go to page. Where is it? Page 10. go to page 10 and look for London Bridges Falling Down. It's at the bottom of page 10 underneath Kookaburra. All right, and no matter what level you're playing at, which book you're playing out of, this is how we get started in changing chords. When you're first starting guitar, changing chords is a big deal. It's really hard. And, in fingerstyle play, when we're playing, melody and chords and all that stuff simultaneously, you're going to be facing this anyway. So sometimes it's easier to get comfortable changing chords by doing these singing and plucking activities. So London Bridge is on page 10, bottom of page 10 underneath Kookaburra. You're going to use the A chord, and then you're going to go to E7, and then back to A. Okay, I'm going to sing, and your job is hit the A, and then make sure your E7 is on and ready to go by the time I get to the E7, and then you come back. Okay, so whatever chord you're on, make sure you get it on, hit it once, and then be thinking about, all right, I got to be ready when he comes around. And then see if you're like, nope, I'm totally got this on, I got no problem getting back and forth between the two, then give me some extra strums in the middle. Okay, I'm going to use my claw plucking. 1, 2, 3, 4. London Bridge is falling down, change, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, E7, my A fair lady. Build it up with silver and gold, silver and gold, silver and gold. Build it up with silver and gold, my fair lady. Take the key and have some tea, have some tea, have some tea. Take the key and have some tea, my fair lady. Okay, so I tried 3 different claw patterns. One was just a thumb chuck, thumb chuck, thumb chuck. One was an actual arpeggio, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and one was claw plucking all 4 of those at the same time. And you can tell it has quite a bit of a different effect on the song, depending on what your right hand is doing. This was always just A and E7, A and E7. And most of the songs in this book you're going to be doing with the green headlines, you'll be going from A, E7, A, E7. I don't know if it's every song, but it's most of them. I think Simple Gifts is in here. I think it's different, but I want you to work on that this week. Okay, you don't have to be a singer. You can hum or whistle or just hear the song going on in your head, but you want to have your chords ready in place by the time you get to the first beat of that new chord. So run through the book, try all the green headlines first, and guys, you're dealing with, I still need some work on strumming. That's why we do this, Vic. Everybody always needs work on strumming because we never do it. Yeah, but now don't get too excited, but you have great world classics like Hokey Pokey, Hush Little Baby, and 5 Little Monkeys are on your green headline ones. And then take just a bit of time to look through the blue headlines, because those have 3 chords in them. They're of course going to be a lot harder. And next week we for sure, without question, will play On Top of Spaghetti. I think it's the most important song in the entire book is On Top of Spaghetti. So we will do that. And we probably won't do any of the purple headlines. Vive la Compagnie and Kookaburra have all 4 chords in there, and that's really probably down the road somewhere. You want to be where you can get your F sharp minor on quickly and easily, but give yourself time on that. That's a major ask, is to get F sharp minor done. And so I think if you focused in on just getting comfortable with getting the green headlines and the blue headlines knocked out, it'll be great. And if you want, next week, if you come in and you're like, you know what, I'd like to try whatever song, just let me know. Bringing your ideas in. Just know for sure we'll play Spaghetti on top of spaghetti on page 12. And then anything else you want to play in the book, we can do. I might recommend we not play Wheels on the Bus because it will be in your head the rest of the day. But Yankee Doodle, You Are My Sunshine, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, This Little Light of Mine, Clementine, all these are Danny Boy's in here. There's some really nice 3-chord songs in here, and they're all public domain tunes, so you don't have to worry about making copies of the book or whatever. It's sitting on the website all the time. You can go get it and make a copy and take it over to people's houses. Also, those of you who are grandmas and grandpas, your grandkids do not know these songs. They don't teach them in schools anymore. They teach Disney songs, and so you probably grew up with these songs. You know these songs, but the grandkids don't know them these days, and so you get to introduce them to them, which they love it. They love these songs. It's so funny that they don't teach them anymore because every time I teach little kids, which I don't do often, but every time I do, this is the book that they will use, and they have a great time. It's really fun, and inevitably there's some child in the group who is the son or daughter of a music teacher, and they know these songs, but the rest of them don't know. So kind of fun. All right, that's your job for the week, is to play through this, and then the following week we wrap it up, book 1, right? So we play through all of the songs in book 1, so don't neglect playing those 5 songs, and you don't have to do the tough acts. You just make sure you can play the melody and the chords in all of the other songs that we have done, and then we'll play for sure on top of spaghetti next week, and then of course we'll play a couple of more out of this the following week as well. So we're wrapping up book 1 here, which is pretty cool, and hopefully for you guys that are coming back to guitar or just getting started, all that's coming together for you. And of course, make sure you're sending me emails if you're struggling with something so that I can address it in class. If you're struggling with it, other people are struggling with it almost certainly. All right, there's book 1. Yay, strumming. And what Vic mentioned, she says, and Vic's been around with me for the entire pandemic pretty much. She says, hey, I still need to work on my strumming. And the reason is we just don't work on strumming in this program very much because you're so busy working on plucking that we just don't spend any time on it. So, yeah, so that's normal. Didn't need more work on it. All right, moving on. I just want to do those songs. That's so funny. Carnival of Venice. We talked about this one last week. Let's see how this week went for you. Let's give it a try. What I will do on Carnival of Venice out of book 2 is I'm going to play the tough acts 2 times through. If I remember, I will play it thumb down the first time and then plucking the second time. And then you should play whatever manner makes the most sense to you. So if you want to work on your chords, if getting from C to G7 and back is something that's going well for you, don't do that, right? If playing the melody is going well for you, maybe do that, right? And if you want to work on the tough acts, of course, and see if you're playing at a speed that's similar to mine, obviously do that. So pick a way that you want to attack Carnival of Venice, and I will go through it twice. I will use tough acts both times, and if you want to try chords one time and melody one time, or melody one time and tough acts one time, or start on tough acts and then freak out and switch to melody, all of those are legit musical decisions. So let's see how we do. All right. As soon as I say I'll play tough acts, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. That's a lot. I'm going to use thumb down the first time. 1, 2. Should have a little wiggle on the end there, a little glissando at the end. So, book 2 people know that that's pretty challenging. That's pretty high up on the difficulty scale. Just the C chord and the G7 chord are harder shapes, generally speaking. And so if you're trying to do the tough X, obviously that's a lot. I would spend some time for sure doing just the chords and singing it. You know, who knows what the words are. Bum 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 bum, ba-da, bum 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 bum. Right, you got to know the melody well enough, but go through and spend some time. Just maybe even pull up the MP3 on the website and listen to that, and then just play along with it get that chord together. I'd say C and G7 they look like they should go together very nicely, but they are, I think, one of the harder chord sets to put together. And of course the melody here is not terribly difficult. You do go up to 8 there at measure 25, and it's like, whoa, I wasn't ready for that, and I think I blew it every single time we came around, but the rest of it's put down in reasonably playable area. So if that didn't go so well, don't lose heart. That's a hard one. Okay, let's go take a look at what's the other one we're doing tonight out of book 2. Clementine. Yay, Clementine. I love Clementine. All right, let's talk about it. This will be your work for the week. You are in A chord and E7, and back to A. And guess what that little booklet is out of book 1 helping you work on? Just this exact thing, right? So that's pretty exciting. Everything's just coming together as if it was intended to be this way. With Clementine, if you don't know well, yeah, everybody knows the melody. I mean, I'm guessing you probably know the melody. You've got a waltz here. It's in 3/4 time. So I'm thinking thumb, pluck, pluck, 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 thumb. In a cavern, in a canyon, excavating for and then you got to switch to E7. Mine dwelt a miner 49er and his daughter Clementine. Right, and that would be a waltz time, just boom chuck chuck, boom chuck chuck. Oh my darling, darling Clementine, you are lost and gone forever, dreadful sorry Clementine. Okay, that's the 3 pattern. You could also do an arpeggio picking on this one. Just thumb, index, middle, ring, middle, index, thumb, middle, ring, thumb, index, middle, ring, middle, index, thumb, index, middle, ring, in a canyon, excavating for a mine, dwelt a minor 49er and his daughter Clementine. So that's a 6 pattern to mess around with. Okay, so those of you who hate singing like I do, probably a good idea to check to do at least a couple of times through with different right hand patterns, so I can get your A and your E7. Just continue to dig in on those. Let's play the melody really quickly before we go on to something else. In fingerstyle, we've talked about it all the time. Grab the first chord, whatever the first chord is. In this case, it's an A. A pretty good chance a whole lot of your notes are going to be sitting right underneath your chord. All right. So you can play with your thumb or index, middle, one of the two, one or both. 1, 2. And notice you play that whole section there without ever moving your chord. Now you got to move something here. E chord. E7. Really put an E chord on here. If you put an E chord on, you're automatically covering 2, 1, 0, and then you go right back to your A chord and page 2. Okay, keep going. I'm holding my chord the whole time because that gets most of my melody work done. I don't have to do a ton of other moving around with my left hand. That means I can focus it on my right hand. And of course, guess what's going to happen when you get a tough fugue? You're going to be doing that exact thing anyway, so you might as well take a little bit of time to pre-prep it. I will say I have one typo on here. Measure 4 in the tough axe line. The second note says a 2 on the 2 on the 5th string. It should be a 0 on the 6th string. So put a 0 on the very bottom there underneath that 2 and cross off the 2, and it'll just sound better. The same exact thing happens in measure 12. Instead of playing a 2 on the 5th string, you should play a 0 on the 6th string. And it'll just sound better. It won't sound terrible if you play it as written, but it sounds better this way. All right, guys, let's run through the tough acts really quick. This is sort of your job for the week when you're in level 2, is to work on tough acts, because that's what you're going to be doing when you get to playing solos in book 3 and book 4. And so the more time you spend on it now, the better. Grab your A chord, nice and slow. Thumb down on everything probably the first time through. 1, 2. It's not turning. Oh my gosh, how weird. Why isn't it turning? Let me close this, close that. There it goes. That's weird. All right, from the pickup to 9, go. you've got this bar chord, right? You've got a bar with these twos. You want to leave the fifth string open because that's your A note, and you put your pinky up on 5 of the first string, and then you get this. Okay, now even, I want you to just try to go for that. If you're playing melody, I put a little wiggly right above the 5 there, and that's a vibrato. Okay, just move your hand, finger back and forth. Don't lift it up or slide it, just let it wiggle. Get a nice little vibrato out of it. Depending on the quality of your guitar, of course. All right, so that's your job for the week is Clementine. I always think this it's a really cute song, and it's worth taking time to read through all of the lyrics here. These I had a little girl at a workshop years ago. I'd only had 4 of the lines, and she says, you're missing the most important parts of the song. And I'm like, I don't know, am I? And she's like, yes, there are more verses, and you left them off. And so I went and did a full internet search for that little girl, and so you have all of the verses here. All right, there's Clementine. That's your job for the week. Make that happen. Book 3. Let's play America the Beautiful. America the Beautiful. All right. Notice those of you guys that came to Orchestra last night, we had one line that was arpeggio, and here it is showing up on in book 3. And by the time you get to book 3, I do want you to kind of practice them because you're going to be using them in orchestra. So it'll be a good chance for you to practice, reading the arpeggios as I wrote them out and seeing how close you could get them. We won't do that now, but whatever, right? So we'll play this 2 times through. At measure 16, you come back to the top, and I'll play the tough acts twice, and you play whatever way makes sense to you tonight. And let's see if we can get a beautiful from C to shining C, right? All right, we're in G. 1, 2, 3. Boom. How about that? Sounds like the song, right? How did you play? Are things going pretty smoothly for you on that? No matter how you're playing, if you're playing melody, are you keeping up with me? Probably, right? If you're playing chords, are those coming out? And in the tough acts, there's a few moments when you're like, what the heck is that? Right? Measure 9, 7, 8, 7. I don't know. What? It's a G chord, but it's just way up the neck. And then I think measure 11 when you're holding the bar and you're needing to have your pinky dodger on to second on the 7 on the second string and then a 7 on the third string. It's pretty high level playing there. It's fairly normal and classical to play stuff like that, but in fingerstyle, well, it's fairly normal in fingerstyle too. I don't know what I'm about to say. It's just hard to do, and so hopefully that went well for you. Okay. Now let's talk about your homework for the week. You are moving on to Andante in G, and I think some of you guys may have played this with me before, but we have Fernando Carulli. He's a legit classical guitarist, so this is actually it would normally show up in our classical program, but we've been playing it forever. I will tell you that this is actually a little bit harder than Carulli's original because I put in a bass line on it and he doesn't have that on his, and so it's even harder. If you play the tough acts on this one, it's pretty hard. And so I do think this is one of those songs that you could probably just use as a warm-up every day for the next 6 months, and at the end you'd be really glad you did something like that. But let's go through and just talk about how I would approach this. The first thing is, yes, you have chord shapes, but some of them are not going to be particularly helpful. Okay, so if you're starting here with this G shape, the first measure in the tough acts is kind of helpful, but really you only need your 3 up here, right? But if you put the whole G on, you'll be like, okay, now I kind of have a sense of where I am. Now take it off, just do the 3 on the top here, and then play your, and you have to play this with a claw. Next one is an A minor, so you would theoretically put your whole A minor on, but in this case you don't. You just need the 1, and then your thumb's going to be on the 5th string. Okay, this is technically a G chord, but you only need the 2 and then the 3 down here, so don't waste any effort doing anything other than this shape right here. That's an 8th note, so it's twice as long as the other things going on there. And then O2. And basically the same thing, right? Index finger and pinky finger. I'm sorry, ring finger. Slide your ring down. Get something up here on 3. Middle finger and probably your pinky finger here. A D7, and I always put the full D7 on here. Just in my mind, seems like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Make sure your ring finger is up, and then some zeros. Here it's a G chord, but it's all zeros, right? 3, 2. Ring finger on 3. Middle finger on 2, pinky on 3, open, index finger on 1, ring finger on 3, then double opens, little run here, okay, and then you'll repeat that for that first page. And I think that's just amazing songwriting. It sounds so cool. It's really, really beautiful. Let's talk about page 2, because again, you guys are going to work on it this week. You've got your D7 here, and I do put a D7 on here because, look, I mean, it just really helps you find your place. And your thumb's going to hit that open D string. Open 3. Other 3. Opens. 3. Another D7. Open, opens, 5th string, middle to finger, pinky, and then just have your thumb hit the 4th string here. 1, 2. Doesn't that sound cool? Play the second page, so first page twice, and then the second page twice, and then a big old G chord at the end. It's going to sound really, really cool. I would say I probably spent 2 months on this song when I was putting it together, so it is a lot, but if you take it super slow, try to keep your pacing really steady. You see it's written in 16th notes up there, so you think, oh, I'm supposed to play that fast. Just the opposite. The reason that it's written in 16th notes is they were trying to save paper, and so guitar music is always written with these really, really crazy fast notes there, and then you see the quarter note equals 32 up there. So in other words, you put sheet music together using 16th notes for a guitar because it takes up less space, and you can put you don't have to print as many pages, but you don't play them like, that doesn't mean you have to play them lickety split. Play them slow and steady, and you'll end up with a really, really nice sounding piece of music. So all right. I wish all songs were speed 32, Vic says. Yeah. All songs are speed 32, Vic. Just don't let anybody in your practice room while you're doing it. You will find overall that I think practicing slower is harder than practicing fast. I think it's more valuable, and I think you'll probably get better faster if you play slow. But a lot of times, even in orchestra, when I'm like, okay, we really need to play slow so these guys have a chance, it's almost sometimes harder to do that. You kind of start to lose the momentum or the pacing or whatever. I think playing super slow is really challenging, but obviously take your time to learn this song nice and slow, and then you can always speed it up. Next week we will play through it as written, so 2 times on the front page and 2 times on the second page, and probably we'll hold this over for a 3rd week as well, so don't think you got to get the whole thing done by next Wednesday, because it's a lot, and it's worth it. It's really beautiful. All right, that's the end of books 1, 2, and 3. If you're not doing the classical program, you can sneak out the back door. Those of you guys that are doing classical with me, by the way, this classical piece in here, it's easier than the other ones, right? Than the one you just did here. So let's pull up the Waltz and take a look at that one. This is a really beautiful piece of music. One of the kids in class played it the other day. I'm like, yeah, I'm teaching that to my kids. I'm teaching that to my gang, because it's really beautiful. So remember, you're going to start here, and we'll keep this up for another week again. So if you don't feel like it's going well tonight, don't lose any sleep over it. We're going to play this again next week. You're going to play all the way down to measure 32. The sign DS al coda means go find the segno and play to the coda. So in this case, the segno is sitting up at measure 1. So you go up to measure 1, you'll play down to measure 14. At the end of 14, that's where the coda is. And then it says to jump to number 33, which is the very end of the song. So at the end of the song, we're just going to play that E minor and then a couple of harmonics. Let's talk about harmonics. This is super exciting when you get to do them. Find your 12th fret and the wire in front. I always say in front of, and that doesn't mean anything on a guitar. The 12th fret wire, the one that's toward the hole end, is where your harmonics are hanging out. Okay? Doesn't that sound cool? Now, if you don't use harmonics, it sounds like a guitar, but if you use the harmonics, it sounds heavenly. Have harmonics waiting for you at 5 and 7, but they're much harder to do, so work on getting them on 12 first. And all I'm doing is just barely touching the string and then plucking it, and then taking my left hand away. Right, so you're barely touching it and then plucking it and getting out of the way. A those are your harmonics. And so when we get to 33, we're going to hit that E minor chord. And then you're going to hit 3 harmonics at the end. It'll sound cool if you can do it. It's really hard to do. All right. Let's do this. Really slow. Take our time. This is 132. So think of it as 32, Vic. And we'll do it at that speed. We won't do it at 32. Really slow, though. 1, 2, 3. Jump. Isn't that lovely? Okay, so we basically have the idea. I didn't play it particularly well, but we got what we need to do, and now we just work on it for the next week. This song is actually easier than the Carulli song, so should be a nice week of lots of classical music for you on your guitar. Okay, I didn't have a chance to eat dinner, so I'm cutting you out. I'm starving. And next week, I'm pretty sure we're regular time next week. Let me double check. I don't think I have anything going on yet. They're painting the house next week, so we're probably going to have a whole nother batch of crazy going on next week. But yeah, so next Wednesday, I think I'm at regular time, and it looks regular so far. So Vic says she loves that song. I love that song. I love both of the songs you're working on this week. Honestly, if you worked on nothing else, just like, forget it. I'm just going to work on those 2 songs for the entire week. I think you'd end up with being really happy with your results. I love that. All right, guys. Let's see, Vic and Linda and the other Linda. Thank you guys for being here. We've had a bunch of you sneaking around in the concurrent viewer box as well. So thank you guys for being here. Send me emails if you have questions, or if we want to do anything, if we need to do anything different or whatever. We're going to keep doing this until somebody says no, that's not working anymore, and that's that. So yeah, lovely waltz, right? It's really lovely, and I do think. I didn't even give you a melody line on that one because I don't think you need it. I think you can play exactly what's there. There's enough zeros in it to really save us. And I love measure 22. I love the fact you can have this A minor, just the 1 2 on, slide it up to 3 on floor, and then slide it back to 1 and 2. That's just so cool. Such great songwriting. And then I totally messed up the turnaround, but in 30, 3 2 1 2 3 2 0 3 2. How I mean we don't get to do bass lines like that enough in this level of play, so it sounded really cool. All right, guys, have a wonderful night. I'm gonna go eat dinner. Take care of yourselves. Stay warm. Peace.